Dear YouTube AI, could you please stop auto-dubbing my videos? I am not speaking Russian. I am speaking English and my accent is not even that thick. Alright? My accent is not really that thick to confuse it with Russian. I'm not speaking Russian, alright? So stop auto-dubbing my videos for people, seriously. Seriously. Please. Now, to the main topic of this video. You know, I used to be about 5-6 years ago, I used to be a huge fan of Hayao Miyazaki and his movies. I think Hayao Miyazaki was one of the most influential directors in my life. I watched all of his movies and I still think Princess Mononoke is perhaps the best animated movie ever made in human history. Sorry, Zootopia and The Lion King and Coco, but it's just on another level, and Spirited Away is an absolutely fantastic film. Not to mention House, Moving Castle. Absolutely brilliant films. But I just recently sat down and finally watched Miyazaki's latest, and as I heard, not the last movie, The Boy and the Heron, which honestly I don't like this name, English name. The original name is How Do You Live, which I think fits this movie better, but okay. So the latest Miyazaki movie, The Boy and the Heron. So what can I say about this film? It was disappointing. Unfortunately, it was disappointing. I would say it was 70% of brilliance with an absolutely baffling ending. I mean, I see lots of people complaining about this film, saying that it's very confusing, the plot is very confusing, like what's going on in this film, and this is not really my problem. Because many people have problem with the fact that many elements of this film do not really make sense, that the characters come and go, but you gotta understand that whatever is happening with the main character Mahito in that world, where he enters this fantastical, surreal world created by his grandfather. This is not literally happening. Alright? This is a metaphorical way that Miyazaki presents the way that the main character Mahito tries to cope with his grief. Like, he lost his mother who burned in fire, or at least Mahito imagines she burned in fire. She was in the hospital in Tokyo when it got bombed. It was the World War II. So the Tokyo hospital got bombed and his mother died. And moreover, he and his father had to abandon their house and move to the countryside to his mother's sister, his aunt. So the boy just basically lost everything. He became numb, he became emotionless, detached from reality. He absolutely didn't care about what was going on around him, because he was all in his grief and his desire. To bring his mother back, and that was the only thing he really wanted to do. He was completely cold to his aunt, who tried to be amiable and friendly to him, and everything that's going on when he enters that tower is a metaphorical representation. All these surreal images, it's not actually happening, so there is no need to take everything absolutely literally in this film, which I think many people have problem with, because many people are used to art, mainstream art, entertainment being extremely, I would say, extremely straightforward, like extremely, everything should be extremely digestible, everything that's going on should be absolutely literal, and this movie is just not. So a lot of have problems with that, which I personally do not have problems with that. I kind of like this surreal imagery. I kind of like that nothing is explained, that you have to think about what you saw, and this movie really does that. You're just thrown into this surreal world of Mahito's grief, and you kind of navigate through it, seeing all these different characters and creatures that do not make sense. And this was really beautiful, and the animation was absolutely fantastic. I gotta say, it was a very beautiful movie. But, animation was great again. Some moments were absolutely fantastic. Some moments I noticed lots of CGI used, and honestly, they didn't look great, because I understand when some show has a lot of CGI, because when you have to release like 25 episodes per year, of course you resort to using lots of CGI to speed up the process. But I just thought that Ghibli would not use. I know Ghibli used CGI before, but I think it was especially conspicuous in The Boy and the Heron. A lot of CGI characters, those elderly women and one man, the kind of servants, or I don't know who they are. Most of them were CGI'd, and it was really unpleasant to look at, especially considering that background scenery, everything was absolutely stunningly beautiful in both real world and imaginary surreal world. So with that I have no problems actually. I like that, but what I have problems with is that unfortunately this movie really has no emotional anchor at all. What I mean by saying that is that people who say this film is complicated, confusing, actually another Miyazaki's movie, which is almost universally praised as one of the greatest films ever made, which is Spirited Away, is almost exactly the same. It's also the main character and her two parents. They enter some strange abandoned city. They start eating food, and then the parents turn into pigs, and she suddenly finds herself in some surreal world, surrounded by surreal creatures, and she has to find her parents and find a way out. Also, lots of it is also purely symbolic and doesn't supposed to make sense. But what sets that film, Spirited Away, apart from The Boy and the Heron is very strong emotional core. It's the main character of Spirited Away. So the main character of Spirited Away, Chihiro, she experiences all sorts of emotions in this movie. She goes through grief, through pain. She laughs, she cries, and we get attached to her. We get attached to her struggle, in finding her parents and navigating this world. And we have really strong emotional attachment to her. She is the anchor, the core of the story, which makes the story very human. Very human and very close to us. That's why we have such strong connection to Spirited Away. And compare this to The Boy and the Heron, where Mahito, as I said, he's numb, he's emotionless. Like it's okay when he's numb and emotionless in real world, but in surreal world where he's supposed to be looking for his mother, he's supposed to be excited. There's supposed to be strong emotional core, which is just not there. I mean, she goes into that world following Heron, to hoping to find his mother, and I assume that the movie he would be looking for his mother, to only realize that his mother is gone forever, and that he should accept his aunt as his new parent figure now. But the movie is not about that. He finds his mother very soon, and she very soon turns into water, and that's basically it. The rest of the film, he is looking for his aunt. And that's also fine, but again, no emotional attachment to the character, because seemingly the character feels absolutely nothing throughout the movie. Like how am I supposed to feel for Mahito when he doesn't feel anything himself? And at the end, when this fantastical world stops collapsing again, everything looks stunningly beautiful. But no emotional core whatsoever. It was just like watching some random animation on YouTube, where it looks pretty. Of course, it looks absolutely pretty, but it has no plot, it has no story. Just looking at someone who made absolutely stunning animation just for the sake of showing off the skills, his skills. I guess that's what I think. When this world collapsed, when Mahito returned, I felt nothing, and then suddenly the movie ended, very suddenly. It was very abrupt ending. Like honestly, I didn't expect the movie to end there, but it just kind of ended, and I and I was left speechless, not because I was mesmerized, but because I was like, is that really it? Is this really the whole movie? Because I split the watching of this movie into 2 sessions. First session I watched the first hour of the movie ended where he found that sailor woman, and they were sailing through that weird sea. I absolutely loved the first part, and I thought I would love the entire movie, but the second part completely fell, completely disappointed me. So I think how I would have done this film. I mean, I already mentioned that I would have made this film about Mahito actually looking for his mother. Actually remove all that stuff with that parrot kingdom, which is kind of supposed to be parody of fascism, which is cool, I think, but just doesn't work at all. So remove that stuff, remove Mahito's aunt being pregnant and going to that world. Just make this movie being him, Mahito, and the heron looking for his mother. Imagine if he goes through this movie, through this surreal stuff, looking for his mother, and finally he finds his mother, and he runs to her, he hugs her, and he cries. This emotional, absolutely devastating emotional moment. And his mother, to be more precise, his mother's phantom asks Mahito, how do you live? Which is literally the name of the movie. How do you live? And then Mahito says that he really cannot live. That he would rather die than live without her. That he can't live. He thinks of her all the time. He wants to bring her back. And then she mother tells him that he should live. That she is dead. That she won't return. But he is alive, and he must keep on living and accept his aunt as his new parental figure. And then his mother, she turns into smoke or water or wind or whatever and disappears. And then this cathartic moment, the whole surreal world starts collapsing, and this would have been much better in my opinion. I really think this would have been better. It would have had all the same surreal imagery, the portrayal of war, of all that stuff, with an absolutely strong emotional core that Spirited Away had, and which this movie absolutely didn't have, unfortunately. So all in all, I think this movie contains lots of great ideas, lots of great concepts, because Miyazaki is a fantastic creator, fantastic author, fantastic writer, fantastic artist. But again, all of that was not realized in the best way. It was not, unfortunately. So we had a lot of great ideas stitched together about grief, loss, acceptance, fascism, and war, but together they kinda don't really work well. I think the movie, that's just my opinion. Maybe Miyazaki is happy with whatever the movie is. If he's happy, if this is exactly the story that he wanted to tell, then that is absolutely fine, I guess. But for me as a viewer, this did not get me, unfortunately. So I can only give this film like 7 out of 10, because the first half or even 60-70% were really good, but the ending was just not. So yeah, that was my opinion. Tell me what you think about the Boy and the Heron and other Miyazaki movies. Maybe I'll talk about them later. Anyways, thanks for watching this, and goodbye.